I mean, if
Hello, everybody. So, if you're listening, you probably didn't hear my snap. If you're watching, you saw me snapping my fingers because I have something super fun for you guys today. For those that are listening in for the first time, I'm Dr. Latifat, aka MoneyFit MD, and what you're listening to is part of the series that we're doing for physicians and specifically for women physicians because I love women physicians. However, if you're not a physician, if you're not a woman physician, you can still learn from this because I want every single human to be empowered. And as part of this series, we're talking about what we are doing and educating the public and the physician community about some of the things that we are doing to be prepped for a recession. And whether you believe there's a recession now, or it's coming, or it's going to come, it's going to come, right? So the bottom line is we don't want you to be in a place where you're freezing and not having a plan and freaking out. So that's why we're having this educational series early on. And as part of that, I've been bringing amazing humans to you guys, people that I know, people that I want to know, people that I've been trying to find. I'm like, come here, let's hang out together. And so, as part of that, I have the pleasure of bringing Dr. Randi here with you guys. Welcome, Dr. Randi.
Hi, how are you? Hi, everybody.
Hello. I'm so excited to have her. We've been talking for about like 30 minutes.
Yes.
So, sorry, y'all. We didn't invite you to that one because we love you, but not that much. So tell us real quickly about who you are, what you do clinically, why I believe that people need to listen to what you are doing, what you're teaching. Just tell us exactly why you're here today.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm Dr. Randi B, MD, your board certified pediatrician and financial wellness expert and former 14-year investment banking vice president, where I provide ERX to wealth and financial well-being through my coaching programs, my speaking engagements, and my number two Amazon best-selling books, Ladynomics, A Woman's Prescription for Wealth and Financial Well-Being. And that's volume one. Volume two is A Woman's Practical Guide to Becoming Financially Healthy. So just to thank you so much, Miss Money Fit MD. Thank you so much. We just met today and it's been fabulous. But I mean, our little talk is, and it's amazing how much we have in common. That's why it's so good to talk and to share your story. But I've been a practicing pediatrician for the past 10 years. And I work in the South Bronx. I'm from New York. I love being a pediatrician, but prior to that, I worked in investment banking for 8 years. I worked for Morgan Stanley, which at the time was the largest or most prestigious investment bank in the world, along with Goldman Sachs. And after that, I worked for Citigroup, which was the largest financial services company in the world. And that's meaning what they bring in revenue. So, and I tell you, that time was fun. It was fun. I'm not going to lie. When you're in the 20s and you're working on Wall Street, you're making more money than your friends. You're experiencing things that your friends and other people, family members have never experienced. It was really a fun time. But around the 2000 year mark, I started really thinking about my future. Well, a couple of things happened that led me onto the doctor path. But I lost my father in 2000. He was just very instrumental to me. He was like everything. And so losing him had a large impact on my life. And then the following year, to make things matters worse, I witnessed September 11th, the destruction of September 11th. The Citigroup headquarters is located in Tribeca, and the trade centers were just 5 blocks away. So I witnessed everything, absolutely everything, everything, just all the destruction, every terrible thing you can imagine. I saw it. So you go through those two big things in a matter, really in a matter of like 15, 16 months. And I really started to take a look at where I wanted to be and what my purpose was. And so in the year 2002, I decided to pursue my original dream to become a doctor. And I enrolled in classes, took the MCAT, got accepted to Stony Brook School of Medicine at Stony Brook here in New York. And, I did my 4 years, did residency in the Bronx. Moved to California for 3 years. I lived in Oakland, missed New York, came back home. And now for the past almost 7 years, I've been working for a federally qualified health clinic serving the homeless and shelter population of New York City. So you're probably like, oh my God, that's a lot of doctor and stuff. How did you get onto the finance? How did you come to this point? So about 4 years ago, in 2018, I started my business, Ladynomics, and that's what this is. Ladynomics. That's my brand. And basically, I wanted to, I noticed that a lot of my friends, most of my friends are doctor friends, but I still have a lot of friends in the finance world. And believe it or not, I mean, a lot of these women still did not understand finance, the personal side of finance. I worked on the corporate side of finance, which is different than the personal side. And, I did a lot of crunching of numbers and stuff, but a lot of us really were still finding ourselves in financial difficulty or just didn't understand the basics. I talked to some of my doctor friends who are making 300, 400 grand a year, and they didn't understand the basics of finance, like compounding interest. I mean, that's the key. That is so important. That's how, that's your money, that's money making money. And that's how how your money grows while you're sleeping, one of the ways. And they didn't understand that. I have a lot of, new other friends who are, making good, nice six figures and still having difficulties. So it was really my purpose. I decided, I'm going to start this business to teach financial literacy to high income producing women. On the flip side, I talk to teens also and young adults because I think that's the pediatrician in me. I think it's part of all of wellness for them because I want them to start on the right foot. It's bad when you're just learning it. It's not bad, but it's different when you're learning it at 40, 50 than when you're learning it at 20. So like my niece, I'm in her head about finances. So that's my structure, that's my goal, that's my purpose. Also on the I see a lot of women during my work who were doing well in life, had their families working, were being able to take care of their families, and things happen, domestic violence situation, loss of a job, maybe mental illness creeped in and kind of changed their lives. So, and now they're here like in the homeless population in the shelter, trying to navigate that system. And it's not fun. It's not fun. We have a lot of working poor here in New York. They have jobs and they're living in the shelter system. So I just want to empower women. I know firsthand what financial literacy and financial responsibility and financial wellness, I know how important it is. My mother, I know I'm going on, but I think it's just so important because, sometimes, you look at, the general public like, oh, you're a doctor, you make this, life is easy, life is good. But, I tell people, I'm like, look, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I'm the children of immigrants. My parents are Jamaican, and they came to this country to do better, and we were doing very well. Bought a beautiful house on Long Island, nice car, nice clothes. We were doing really well, even though my parents weren't professionals. We were doing well, but then my father became disabled, and my parents separated, so that just threw a monkey wrench in our plans, in our financial situation. And my mother really had to figure it out really quickly. And she did. And because she was so disciplined, really disciplined, she got us out of our situation. And now collectively as a family, we're doing very, very, very well. And I really attribute it all to her. She's really my superhero, my shiro. My financial shiro, that's what I say, my financial shiro, because she's everything she taught me, that's what I teach, because I know it works. But that's it in a nutshell.
I love it. And it's important to share those because my audience they're very diverse. I have people that actually listen that are not physicians as well.
Right.
Although
right.
I talk to physicians, but I believe everybody can learn from it and apply it in a way that makes sense to them. So I love that you work with, physicians and non-physicians. And I love that you shared, because they're going to be part of that story that people are going to identify with. So thank you for sharing that with us. So talk to us. I know that number one is you've shared how you've gone with your own journey and how you're equipping yourself. And I know that you also work with your clients and everybody that's listening to this. I'm very, very quick to let y'all know we're educating, we're empowering. We don't know your financial situation. So you're going to have to figure out what is going to work for you. But I think there's something from here that you can take away. So part of what I want us to share is sort of like, there's always this conversation about whether we're in a recession or not, and everybody's going to have their thoughts. However, I think that when things like this happen, it's important for us to be empowered when it comes to our actions, but also in terms of our mindset, so that we're not freaking out, but we are actually taking steps that's going to create the result that we want. So share with us, what are some of the things that you are doing, you are advising your people to do in terms of making sure that whatever comes down the road, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, we're like, hallelujah, we're doing great. We're not like, oh, the recession is over and it's been a sucky. Because the thing is, the same event can happen to two different people and they will have two different experiences. And what I'm tired of is women of color, physicians getting the short end of the stick. So that's why I'm doing this. So talk to us, give us all the things, tell us all the stuff. We got a couple of minutes. Go, do your thing.
Hey, so, I know there's this talk about recessions, and I've lived through a couple of them, starting with the crash of 87 when I was in college. And I remember it didn't affect me. Well, it did affect me indirectly because my mother and my aunts and them were affected by that, family members who were in the workforce. But so I understand, I get it, been through a number of it. But, to be quite honest, there's all this talk about recession, and some people say we're in it. Some people say we're heading, regardless of what the situation is. I think that we've kind of been in this turmoil with our finances for years now, because the pandemic, for a lot of physicians, it wasn't great. Okay. So 2 years ago, we had doctors who were being laid off. Can you imagine? We never thought that doctors can be laid off, right? Doctors being furloughed, laid off, like they no longer had a job, or their salaries were cut. I've heard everything from 25% to 75%. Can you imagine one day? I mean, how the pandemic worked? One day life was status quo. The next day, everything was shut down. Everything. So if you had your private practice, it affected you. You had to pivot real quickly. If you were hospital employed, they had to stop elective surgeries. So that affected some people's salaries. Everyone was affected. Everyone. And if you weren't, you were scared. Like I was like, okay, what does this mean for me? So even if you're making $400,000 a year and you get the notice that, okay, your salary is going to be cut by 75%, I don't care what, that is going to affect you. Okay. If your livelihood, if your lifestyle is based on a $400,000 salary or $200,000 salary, if it's going to be cut by 75%, that can really do some damage. It can do some damage. So I think like all this talk of recession, I kind of feel like we've been playing this game for about 2 years already.
Yep.
Okay. So if anything, preparation and being proactive is the name of the game. Okay. If during this 2 years, if you haven't learned the importance of not holding debt, of increasing or starting an emergency fund or reducing unnecessary expenses. If you haven't learned that, now is the time, because if we're going into another period where there may be a recession or there's some retraction in the economy. We don't know how it's going to affect us, because, people, regular, not saying regular people, but like everyday people, one of the things that, when they're having difficulty, if they lose their job, they may not have insurance. So if you have a private practice, you may see a downturn in patients, right? If you're a dentist, when you're going through financial turmoil, the last thing you're thinking about is your teeth. I know when I was a resident and when I was a med student and I had no money, I wasn't thinking about regular cleanings and again, because that's out of pocket expenses. So that can definitely happen, and that can affect your business. So being as lean as possible is what's important. Getting rid of unnecessary credit card. Like if you have credit card debt, that should be number one. If you find yourself eating out 3 or 4 times a week or whatever it is, these extra things that you're doing, maybe you should think about cutting that down, especially now where everything's kind of inflated. Here in New York, if you go out to dinner, and I'm not exaggerating, the last couple of times I've gone out to dinner, it's cost me like $100 for one meal. I said to myself the other day, I said, this is nuts. This is going to stop, because that's too much. That's too much. So I know for me going forward, all those little going out to eating, that stops for me. Personally, that's what I'm going to do. Having an understanding of where your money is going, because a lot of times you make a lot of money, you see all this money coming to your account, and you just have things coming out and you have no idea of what's going in and out. You don't know what subscription you've signed up for. 25. I posted a meme not so long ago that $25 a day in 1 year is like 20,000. It's like, what is it? $10,000.
That's amazing.
It's like 10,000. I'm going to calculate it real quick, because I think that's important. Mm-hmm. It's the accountant in me. So 25. Yes. $25 a day of wasteful spending equates to $10,000 in a year.
And $10,000 a year, every single year, compounding.
Yes. That's a lot of money. So, people talk about, oh, you shouldn't worry about the lattes and the $6 this. Well, if you have 2 lattes a day and a piece of pastry, that's 25. If you do that every day, that's $25. And that's not even like food that you have to eat every day. I'm not talking about your lunch, your breakfast, or your dinner. If this is just your snacks, that's 10 grand. So all that talk about, oh, you're not going to become financially rich by cutting out a latte. No, it all adds up. Back in my frivolous day, well, not frivolous, but not so careful days, I would get an American Express bill for like $1,000, $1,500. And I'm like, what did I spend? I didn't buy anything significant. I didn't buy anything. I didn't buy anything. And then when I would download my statements, it's a bunch of $20, $25, $30, because I got stuck into, well, let me put everything on my American Express because I could get the points. I could transfer the mine. But it's frivolous. It's really frivolous. And I got to the point now, one of the things that I've done over the years is I try to use cash. I try to use cash more because I'm not so quick to spend the cash I have in my wallet, but it's very easy for me to pull out a credit card or my American Express. So I think in the short term, the key is, but I feel like we've had practice on this already, or we've had the warning signs. Really dig into your numbers and know where your money is going. Get a budget, figure it out. There's so many online products, budgeting products. I still use Excel because again, I'm an accountant at heart. So I'm very diligent. I know every single dollar that's coming in and out of my account. So I think that's one of the first things, because once you know what you're spending, how much you're bringing in, you can make adjustments and prepare yourself. So really understanding your expenses, really understanding your spending habits, making appropriate changes is key to preparing yourself.
Let me ask you a question, since you, and I think this is going to be important because you mentioned cutting out unnecessary expense, and you shared some tips that you're doing in terms of like really following all the dollar, looking at the subscription, cutting those things. And I love that you're sharing the things that you're doing. Someone is going to go, how do I know if it's necessary or not necessary? Especially because a lot of my audience are, they're physicians, they may be mamas, they're paying for childcare, and they're like, you know what, pay rent or mortgage and then childcare. And next thing we know, like, is childcare necessary? Or can we just give this kid away for adoption?
Wow. That's a good, it's really looking at your wants versus your needs. That's how I look at it. And trust me, a lot of my spending is, in the past, I really cut down a lot. What, is wants. It's not need. Do I need that bag that I just saw? Did I need those pants when I have a closet full of clothes and with some tags on it still? Even for things like what you consider necessary, do you need to drive a Mercedes-Benz versus, I don't know, a Honda or Ultima, whatever? Do you like depending on your if you can afford it, like I tell people, if you can afford it and you are meeting your financial goals, hey, do whatever you want. If you have your 6 to 8 months of emergency expenses or 12 months, whatever, depending on what kind of line of work you do, if you're maxing out on your retirement, if you are, what else do we think about? If you're, you're paying, you're putting money aside in the 529 for your child's college. Like if you're doing those things and after that you have money left over, spend it however you want. If you've met your goals. But if you haven't met your goals, if you're not maxing out, if you're not, you don't have that emergency fund, if you don't have those, what I consider basic things to be financially solvent, you really have to address what's important and what you value. And I love to travel. That to me is a necessity. The want is, do I need to fly first class, or can I, be in business or economy? I'm fine with being in maybe comfort.
You're like, I'm financially fine now, so comfort.
Right, exactly.
Knowing what seasons you're in your finance.
It really depends on what, you have to look at your situation, and because a lot of us are doing things, maybe, we're doing things where if we really look at what we thought was important and what we value and what we need, not only now, but in the future, that should help you determine what's necessary and not. Like for me, and I can, I can talk about myself. I started med school later in life. Me being debt-free, having a robust retirement account, because I had to start all over after, once I graduated med school at 42. I went to med school at 35. Me getting rid of debt, that is critical. And that is going to drive a lot of the decisions I make. Like I said, I love to travel, but I'm going to do it bougie budget wise.
You all heard that. Bougie budget wise.
Budget. Like I'm not going to compromise on things, but I'm going to find the way to do it. I'm going to find, just recently I went to, I did a lot of renovations on my home this year. And but I needed to get away. That's one of my necessities. So I said, you know what am I going to do? Okay, I'm going to go visit my aunt in Calgary, and we're going to go to Banff. Banff is one of the most highly sought after destination vacations in the world. Okay, it is stunning. But guess what? I stayed with my aunt in Calgary. Now, not everybody has an aunt in Calgary. Not everybody want to go to Banff, right? But I said, you know what? I'm going to stay with my aunt in Calgary, and we're going to do a day trip to this fabulous place, and that'll be okay.
What I love is there's no one size fits all.
No one's
want versus need, even as you're describing it. And I'm saying that for the audience too, is for her, travel is a necessity. So when we're talking about wanting versus need, it's based on but you have to be honest with yourself based on where you are.
Yes.
So that the consequences are what you want and not what you don't want.
Right. If that latte is important, have it. If that's your me time and that's your decompressing time, do it. But, I don't drink coffee, so I don't know.
We drink coffee. We know what we're talking.
I don't drink coffee, so I don't know. Like all that stuff, I don't. I can't relate to that. But what I did, I used to buy tea out on the street for $3, $2.75, and that's like nothing. It really is. That's not going to break your bank. I said, wait a second. I would do this. I would say, look, I could get a whole box of tea in a supermarket for like $5, and I can make my tea that I love, that I need to have.
Gives you joy.
Tea gives me joy.
I love it. I love it. So
do I have to spend $100 a month on tea? But I can just buy 100 tea bags in a container. It's just, you got to really think about, you have to really do some self-digging and think about what's important, why you do certain things, why you spend money, why you have to do this, why you have to, you really got to get into the whys.
Okay. I love that. And the key is when you do this, you're able to have more cash, and that cash can be used to build your emergency fund. And
yes,
also in the recession is when things are on sale when it comes to investment.
Yes.
So when you have this cash, you can start to invest more, whatever you want to invest into the stock market, into real estate, into businesses.
Big thing. Yes. Yes.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. So any last minute tips that you want to share on what you think we as women can and should be considering when it comes to prepping for the downturn? Because I know you got to go pick up your mama, and the last thing you want to do is piss her off.
That's very important. That's
very important. I don't want to piss off your mama.
So, I really believe in empowerment. I believe education empowers, and it's not something that you can take away. So the one step is learn some financial topic. Like I was always in corporate accounting, the corporate side of business, but the personal side, I had to learn that. So very early on, like when I was in my 20s, I read a lot of books. One book I read in particular is The Black Woman's Guide to Financial Independence. Some of those lessons, it's old, it's not even in print anymore, but some of those lessons have stuck with me. So learn. If you don't know how to budget, learn about it. Speak to someone, find a coach, read. We have the internet now. There's tons of stuff. Educate. If you want to learn about the stock market, read a book. Investopedia is fantastic. It breaks down everything and it has everything there. I think that's it. Learn and start now. Even if it's small, start it now. Be proactive.
Be proactive. And where can they find your book? Because I saw you flashing it all up in the air, but some of our people are listening.
I love it because it's so easy to read. It's great, I think. So you can find it on my website, drrandibmd.com. I autograph, and they're $20 each with the autograph. But you could also buy it on Amazon, and most retailers like Barnes & Noble, you can find the book. And again, if you want to reach out to me, you can reach out to drrandybmd.com.
Fantastic. Thank you so, so very much. I love the tips. And the reason why I have, and you guys are like, well, there's people that I'm having, they may have different ideas or different ways. And that's the bottom line. There's no one size fits all. Find a plan that works for you. Find an ideology that works. The bottom line is the end result is we want you to have money. We want you to be empowered, and we want you to make sure you have the resources to invest right now, because this 3 to 5 years, like I've been saying, are going to be so, so important. And 5 years from now, I want us to be able to gather and high five. And you go, Latifat, I'm so glad you did those videos. I learned, but I not only learned, but I took action. And now 5 years from today, which is 2027, something like that, right? Now it's like, I have all this, I'm doing much better. I'm financially liberated. My family's set up for success because I did not wait on the sideline, freezing, afraid, and worried. I listened, I took action, and now we're here and we can all celebrate together. And that's my vision. So
that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for what you do. We're going to be sharing your link as well so people can find you, find your book. And again, educate yourself, learn something, and make sure you're all taking a list of the things you're going to be doing from all those interviews. And knowledge does not empower. Action is the most important thing. Learn and move from there. Knowledge only is going to keep you constipated. We don't want that. No constipation. Learn the stuff, take action, and we can all win together. So thank you for being here. Thanks, guys, for listening or watching or both. And you know where to find us. And make sure you leave us a review. Let us know if you love this episode. And thank you for being here with us. All right. Bye-bye.